Bah brothers. Alright, that's not why we are here. We are here to talk about the Porsche that saved Porsche.
Cars with Prem Roy.
What do I mean by that? Okay, the Porsche that saved Porsche was the first liquid cooled that was, just take a look. We got 3 down here, not 1, not 2, but 3 Porsche 986. We got the first gen 2.5, we got the 2.7 and the 3.2. So we've got the Porsche that saved Porsche. Did you all know that? The Boxster was, okay, talking about the Boxster, the Boxster was actually, the name came about from 2 things. One is the Roadster, and the other thing is about the engine, is the Boxster, right? So it's a Boxster engine. So they put the word box in front and stuff from the Roadster and made it the Boxster.
I have a pen, I have pineapple, pineapple pen.
Okay, when Porsche was going through a difficult time, they looked at their Japanese counterparts, especially Miata from Mazda, that was actually selling very, very well at the time. And Porsche had a few issues when they came up with the 986. Their production time was really too long. It was so messy that some engineers said they had to climb ladders and find in the bin for parts to build a single car, and they took up to 120 hours. So what they did, they leaned to their counterparts from Japan again, for just-in-time production method that Toyota used. So he got it from the Toyota engineers to implement the system into Porsche. That saved them a lot of time. Namely, to build a car, they normally take 120 hours and a very messy process, and it brought it down to 72 hours, just 72 hours. So it became more efficient and the company could actually make more money by spending less, time equals money equals money. Given the Boxster, it's, Porsche's history is somewhere very strong. But now, 20 years ago from now, why is it that you should buy a 986 Boxster? Because it's value for money, right? Okay, what car can you buy at 12, 13k Depree? Or even if you talk about value-wise, about 70,000, 70 grand, you get a badge. You get a Porsche, and you get a Roadster, 2-seater, mid-engine, convertible. It's a car that packs up every single thing that everybody wants in a sports car. Like, what do you want in a sports car? A good powerful engine. Okay, it's not going to drive you nuts, it's not that powerful, but it's still good enough. For 70,000 bucks, that's cheaper than a Toyota Altis. Not that, okay, that's really, okay, but you know what I mean. So it's fast, it's a 2-seater, it's a convertible, and it's a Porsche. You can't ask for anything more than that for 70,000 bucks. So it's value for money, and we've got quite a reliable engine actually. These engines, the 2.5, were notorious for breakdowns due to a manufacturing defect, but at this age it would have lasted that long. So any 2.5 you got, as long as you check the car before you buy, the engines would have been fine. But old car, you have old car problems, wear and tear and all that, but Porsches are not known to be problematic. The only other issue you have to be worried about is the IMS bearing issue. So if you crank it up and you hear a knocking sound, do not buy it. Or get it very cheap so you have enough money to overhaul the engine, right? And it's actually a very zippy car. Think about it, it's mid-engine, right? It's such a short wheelbase, it's a Roadster. So the handling of the car should be good. Is it? Is it really? I don't know. Let's go for a spin later and we'll find out, alright? Alright guys, we have the Porsche that saved Porsche. Literally the first generation 2.5 986. And this guy, actually from the start, I would say the engine is rather silent. I mean, for a sports car, I think it's really too quiet. I mean, that's just my view. I really can't hear the Boxster, especially in this low drive. But let's see when we gun it up, and especially when the roof is up. But it's really, really easier to drive. And I would say the steering, the rack and pinion steering, right? It's actually very comfortable. Okay, I had a 987.2 Boxster S before, and that steering was, I mean, it's also using the rack and pinion, but it was really, really much more heavier and harder to drive on the low speeds. But I can do this with one hand. It's nice. It's actually very, very nice and comfortable as well. It makes a perfect daily car if you do not need to ferry 4 people and you're driving alone most of the time, or 2 of you guys are moving around. I think this car would make a very, very excellent daily driver. Okay, I can't believe how quiet and comfortable. What else? It's really comfortable. You know, the engine is silky smooth, given that it's 20 years old. I mean, it would have been rebuilt before. Most of us know that the 2.5 came with a manufacturing defect, but that was rectified later on because it wouldn't have lasted a few years later. The walls had a problem. So, I mean, for a car this age to be, you know, feeling this smooth and quiet, it's really a job well done. And I mean, for this price point, you don't really get many sports cars out there at this price point. It's just that people don't know. A lot of people are thinking that, hey, if I buy a Porsche, being a big brand, the maintenance or servicing is going to kill me. But actually, little do you know that actually Porsches are really, really reliable if you get the good one. You see, I always believe in a low mileage car is worse off if it doesn't have any service record. I'd rather buy or put my money in a car with high mileage but has the service record to show what has been done. At least for a car like this for the last 5 years minimally. Because most of them, you know, the mileage is either adjusted or they change the speedometer and you don't really know what was being done to the car before and whether the major servicing was done at what point. And then when you buy a car with low miles, even if it's a genuine mileage, the car has never been driven. So all the parts and components are really, really hard, and you know, they start to give way only after you take up. And trust me, getting a car at this age, and a lot of people don't keep parts in Singapore, so you need to probably ship it in yourself or go to the workshop and get them to get it down for you. And it may take 1 or 2 months because to ship the parts in and get the car repaired. So if it really breaks down, and you probably will be carless if this is your only car for quite a good substantial amount of time, and you don't want to keep going back to the workshop to do all the maintenance that the previous owner who did not drive the car should have done. So low mileage isn't always the best. That's something I have to educate someone. So let's get it up a bit. Not the most powerful, I have to be honest, but it's silky smooth and comfortable. Okay, I would honestly, for a 2.5, I was expecting a bit more grunt. But given the age, I think that's negligible. It's not going to put your head back to the seat or something like that. The G-force isn't really there as I expected it to be. Okay, we're going up to 100 now. That took a while. That took a while to reach 100. Okay. Okay, but it feels nice, you know. I don't know how to say this, but the chassis of the car feels nice. It's easy to maneuver. You can just go and the car handles kind of, how do you put it? It's a mid-engine. You won't really go very wrong. There's a bit of wind noise in the cabin with the top up. I expected something better, but there is a bit of wind noise in the cabin with the top up. So that's something to look out for if it's going to be. But if you're going to be one of those who really drive with the top down most of the time, then it's not really going to be much of a concern. I don't know if this generation of Boxsters can have the top down while you're driving. Let's slow down a bit and try that. Where's the button? Oh, you can. So while driving, you can still get the top down. That's not too bad. Okay, let's hear how the engine sounds. Or let me tell you how the engine sounds. I don't think you can hear it through that, but the recording. The second gear is really very, very long. The gear ratios this Tiptronic have is not exactly one of my favorites. I would have loved the 5-speed manual. These cars came in originally as an option at that point in time. But the Tiptronic is not jerky, it's smooth. It's actually quite very comfortable. Performance-wise, I won't say it's the best gearbox there. At that time, before the dual clutch and ZF was invented, the manual versions always outbeat the automatic cars, even though they are the same spec. So the gearbox technology there for the automatics weren't really there. they were still slower than the manuals. Because the manuals you control and the automatics at that point, you do not. The PDK is now, the dual clutch, even if you don't control it, it does it for you, and it's way, way faster than what humans can do with a manual. Okay, let's head back and try the 2.7, shall we? We have here the 2.7. Let's make the aircon off. Oh my god! Oh, it's Fahrenheit. Okay, take it chill. I thought the car was going to cook me because I turned on the aircon and it was 68. It showed 68. It's not degrees Celsius, so that's why I got a shock. It's Fahrenheit. In Singapore, we use degrees Celsius. But the car was trying to cook me, man. So this unit probably had a head unit for the aircon that's gone, and yeah, they replaced it with Fahrenheit. Thanks. They should put a sticker of a warning there. So let's go. Okay, first impression, throttle response, much more lively, way, way much more lively compared to the 2.4. Oh, this is really impressive, man. This is really good. Steering feedback, more or less the same. Slightly, a tad bit heavier than the 2.5 for some reason. I don't know, these cars have gone through so much in their life that you don't really know what was changed or what is not, or why is some things feel that way. Okay, we won't be going crazy because the road is really wet. Impressive or not, the suspension feels harder. I don't know why. I always had the impression that the 2.5 and 2.7 struts were the same, but apparently it's distinctively more firm, less bouncy, less comfortable in that matter. The 2.5 was way more comfortable, the suspensions itself, compared to this. This is a bit more firm, so I guess the road holding for this will be better, but you do feel more of the minor bumps. Right, let's go. Oh yeah, okay, you feel more of the flat 6 in this version. You feel much, much more compared to the 2.5. The 2.5 was a bit too quiet for my liking. I mean, it's a sports car, it's supposed to have some life in it. But the 2.5 did not have much music. I wonder why. What did Porsche do to make it so quiet? Why did they make it so quiet? To my knowledge, the 987.1, the generation that surpassed the 986 and replaced it, that was noisy. Not noisy, sorry, wrong choice of word. That was more louder, you know, it had more life in it. But for the 986, even this is very quiet. Or is it only quiet inside? Is the insulation that good that it really channels out all the sound? Let's find out. Right, this one has a grunt. Okay, you can hear on the outside, but still okay. Give it to it, it's not super loud, but you still hear the flat 6. So that being said, I would say it's still a decent drive. Handling wise, okay, I drove the S first before I drove this. So when you compare the 2.5, 2.7 and 3.2, the 2.5 is quiet, very comfortable, and very soft. But the 2.7, it's much more responsive than the 2.5. There's a huge difference in the responsiveness compared to the 2.5 for the second gen Porsche. So Porsche, I think, probably whatever they missed out in the 2.5 generation, the first gen of 986, they probably did it all, they covered all the tracks and whatever it was lacking and did the 2.7 better and the 3.2. The suspension on 3.2 is definitely a bit more harsher compared to the 2.7. I think that's all the difference there is. Actually, comparing the 3.2 and the 2.7, I don't see much of a difference. Probably just from the power-wise and the handling, that's negligible. So if you are to get a good condition unit, and the 2.7, the condition is much better, probably service record, and the amount of money you need to spend to reinstate the car, given the age. I wouldn't mind going for the 2.7 because I don't think that 500cc displacement and the technology at that point in time with the tuning involved, the numbers are going to be great, or it saves the numbers for itself, but I think the driver's feel is the most important thing, and I don't think, for me, I don't feel that much of a difference, really. So if it's about the same price, go for the 3.2. But if the price difference is going to be huge, you'll be happy off with the 2.7. But I will say one more thing again, it's either the car or maybe because of its age, but the Tiptronic on that responds a bit better than this. Probably because of the way it's being tuned. It's like a go-kart, this 986. The wheelbase is so short, the car is low, it's wide, you're seated in the center. It's such an easy car to drive. It's so easy to drive. Okay, we are in the second gen of the Boxster 986, but it's the S model, so it comes with a 3.2. So it comes with a 3.2 flat 6 Boxster engine. So it's raining, guys, so we're going to go a bit chill. We can't put the roof down, I don't want to get wet. I already showered this morning, so yeah. Smooth. First initial feels much more responsive. The gear change, surprisingly, even the Tiptronic feels a bit different. It's a bit more responsive. When you put your foot down, it drops gear immediately. In the 2.5 gen, it did not. So the 3.2, this may have enough of power, just to get you into trouble. It's actually lively. I hear more of the flat 6. I hear more of the flat 6 in this one compared to the 2.5 and 2.7. So it's definitely much more lively. Okay, so initial difference from the 2.5 and this S model. This is the next generation. So Porsche definitely did a much better job with the engine. And it being the displacement being 3.2, 3200cc, it definitely feels much more lively. You don't really you get the feel like much earlier, you start feeling the pull much earlier as well. Okay, the same being said for the 2.5, 2.7, the 2.5 will be the most cheapest compared to the rest because, I don't know, some people, the price range is so close, oh my, but okay, this is so smooth, the engine is so smooth, but it's so much more lively. You feel the power immediately, like instant, there's an instant difference when you put your foot down and move out. Again, it's not a car that's going to kick your head back, but it is powerful enough, it's smooth, it's like, it's very, very, very decent, I would say. I'm impressed. Okay, the suspension is definitely evidently more stiffer here.
What we do here is go back.
You hear the flat 6 on the mid and high revs, like above 4 onwards, 4,000 RPM onwards, you really feel it grunting a bit. So that's really, really nice. Other than that, the car feels much more secure, much more planted. It points where you want to go. It's a bang for buck sports car that you can drive every single day, and the seats are so damn comfortable. Alright guys, this has a 5-speed Tiptronic as well. It's not my favourite, but it works. It really works. But the suspension may be a bit too stiff for some of you who don't like to feel everything on the road. It's not as hard as coilovers, don't get me wrong, but I would say it's good enough. guys, if you don't mind paying the additional road tax, and if you come across an option for 2.5, 2.7 or 3.2, and if you want a bit more firmer, a better road holding car, go for the 3.2. Or I may just be biased being power hungry myself, but I would say it's really smooth. 2.7, 3.2. Let's see how it goes. Cool. Just something about flat sixes. The sound it gives out is just very nice. Okay, this car brakes better, it holds better, takes corners better. The road holding is definitely much more better. And I think the comfort compromise is so minimal that you really won't feel it as much, only on really bumpy roads. Okay, for the 986, right, this interior has definitely been done before. And if you get the 3.2 generation, that's the second gen for the 986 itself. And it's rather interesting because you really get a lot for the amount of money that you pay. Like, you know, it's a roadster, it's has a Boxster engine, it's naturally aspirated, so maintenance wise it's not going to be heavy due to its reliability that naturally aspirated engines naturally have. And because Porsche already worked on the problems that the 2.5 first gen had, the 3.2, the only thing you need to worry about will be the IMS bearing. So let's go. So if you have $60,000 in Singapore and you want to get a roadster, a Boxster and a Porsche, you can go for the 2.5. But if you don't want power, you don't need the power, you want to drive around and be happy with it, but smooth and comfortable, get the 2.5. The 2.7, the displacement says it all, it's a bit more powerful, so but it's still comfortable, and maybe Porsche worked out the problems, but like I said, I don't think the 2.5 have any issue at this age. Whatever problems it had would have been done. 20 years, it wouldn't have lasted that long. And if you're okay with being a little bit more uncomfortable, had a bit of room for budget for the car itself, and if you like the S wording and you don't want to just buy the sticker, if you want a 3.2, the displacement makes a difference. The car is much more lively. You feel the throttle response almost immediately, and with the Tiptronic, I don't know what Porsche did, but the Tiptronic on the S model for this particular car feels a bit more responsive than the 2.7 or 2.5. Probably because of the way it's tuned, that to give you more, to make it more engaging, or Porsche intentionally did it. We will never know. But simply said, you want more power, buy this. Don't want so much power, buy 2.7. If you're okay with being comfortable and you don't want to break the bank, buy 2.5. But that being said, none of these cars are going to break the bank if you buy the right one. Okay, we've come to the end of today's episode and I have to get back to feeding my fish and cat and parrot. But I was thinking about the 2.5, 2.7 or 3.2, or maybe I'll just take the 3.8 to get home with.